Call the meeting to order. I'm going to do a roll call at this time. Mayor Pro Tem, are you here?
Here.
Councilman Rivenbark, are you here? Councilmember Spears, are you here?
Here.
Councilmember Waddell, are you here? Councilmember Andrews, are you here?
Here.
Councilmember Joyner, are you here?
Here.
Chair's here. We have several presentations tomorrow night. You can take a look at them. C1 is the consent agenda, approval of the minutes. C2 is a resolution authorizing city manager to apply for a 2025 New Hanover Community Endowment Community Safety Grant in the amount of $623,331 for a comprehensive firefighter health, safety, and wellness initiative. C3 is a resolution authorizing city manager to enter into a 3-year contract in the amount of $145,800 with LP Wilmington Incorporated for commercial window washing services and multiple city-owned properties. C4 is a resolution authorizing the mayor to enter an agreement with the Wilmington Urban Area Metropolitan Planning Organization and the Cape Fear Public Transportation Authority for year 2026, Section 5303 for planning grant funding. Public hearings, PH1 is an ordinance directing the housing inspector to vacate, close, and repair or demolish the dwelling at 914 South 12th Street as unfit for human habitation pursuant to Article 5, Chapter 16 of the City Code, and directing that a notice be placed thereon prohibiting its use or occupancy. PH2 is an ordinance directing the housing inspector to vacate, close, and repair or demolish the dwelling at 1720 Ann Street as unfit for human habitation pursuant to Article 5, Chapter 16 of the City Code, and directing that a notice be placed thereon prohibiting its use or occupancy. Ordinances. 01 is an ordinance adding Section 6-10, certain actions prohibited on the city property, to Chapter 6, Article 1 of the Wilmington City Code. This is being heard on a second reading from the September 23rd, 2025 meeting. 02 is an ordinance making supplemental appropriations of $8,896 from the Cape Fear River Watch donation to the city's stormwater operating fund in order to purchase an aqua real-time algae tracker for Greenfield Lake. Good luck. 03A is an ordinance approving appropriations to the Buildings Improvements Capital Projects Fund for the Parks Operations Facility Project in the amount of $4,209,071. 03B is a resolution awarding a construction contract to J.M. Thompson Company of Cary, North Carolina for the Parks Operation Facility in the amount of $11,921,273. 04A is an ordinance authorizing the appropriation of funds in the amount of $577,023 from the Tree Mitigation Fund for the 2026 tree planting contract. And 04B is the resolution awarding 2026 citywide tree planting contract to Thorpe Landscaping of Wilmington LLC for the planting 641 trees in the amount of $577,023. 05A is an ordinance to appropriate $9,135,132 to purchase replacement 800 MHz radios for all applicable city departments. And then 05B is the resolution authorizing city manager to enter into an agreement with Motorola Solutions for the purchase of radios for all applicable city department and divisions. Resolutions are: 1 is a resolution in support of addressing the accessibility and affordability of early childhood education in the state of North Carolina that's being brought forward by Councilmember Andrews. And then R2 is a resolution to authorize city staff to pursue the acquisition of real property suitable for the development of a new park and recreation amenities. I believe this concludes this portion of the agenda. Are there any items, concerns, comments from anybody?
Mr. Mayor.
Yes, sir. Yeah.
So I had a question about the last resolution there. So I was, pretty surprised on Friday morning to see that on the public agenda, because normally we talk about potential real estate purchases in closed session before it comes out on a public agenda. But then I was really surprised when I got a call from Brenna Flanagan at the Port City Daily, and she said they had discussed it at the county commissioner's agenda briefing the day before. So, and in the article it said that staff had talked to Chris Coudray, the county manager, about this item, and I was just wondering, how did that occur? Who on staff had talked to Chris Coudray about the item?
Council Member Andrews, I can address that. I spoke to Chris Coudray on Wednesday
to make sure that the wording that was put forward in the item was reflective of what the county would be amenable to having on that agenda item. The public documents were posted for a brief time on Thursday, which is not normal, but we had some other staff who was filling in with our agenda items. So a version of this resolution was up on our website for a period of time on Thursday. But I did have a brief conversation with Mr. Coudray on Wednesday.
So I'm just curious why you would have a conversation with the county manager before you would talk to the council members.
So we are going to be going into closed session. We can go into more detail about that in there, but it was a broad conversation. It was not soliciting support from the county so much as just making sure that there was an awareness of the wording that was going on the agenda item.
Okay. Well, the county manager did the right thing and notified his elected officials, so kind of surprised to hear about that from the media.
Okay. Anything else? Okay, this concludes this meeting.
We do have a few items, Mr. Mayor. Before we conclude the meeting, two minor amendments to the agenda that I just want to bring to council's attention and the public's attention. Corrected item 01, the ordinance adding section 610, certain actions prohibited on city property, to chapter 6, article 1 of the Wilmington City Code. Based on council's most recent amendments to that proposed ordinance, the word occupy should have been removed from the draft that was put into the council agenda. That has now been corrected, so the most up-to-date version is now what is available for council. And then item 04A, the cover letter only, the dollar amount was incorrect in the title. The correct amount that we are looking to have authorization to appropriate from the tree mitigation fund is $577,023. It was off by about $2,000. So apologize for those errors, but they have been corrected. We do also have two brief presentations today. The first one is an update from Jenna Worth with Voyage on their summer employment program outcomes.
Mr. Umberg has a question.
I'd like to go back to the item about the planting of the trees. Whoever's in charge of that, could you put in, or just give us an idea and write in English what those trees are? I know I can recognize a couple of them as oaks, but if I could get somebody to do it in English where I could understand it. I didn't take Latin.
Yes, sir. We'll have that out to City Council today.
Thank you, ma'am.
You're welcome.
Good morning, Council, Mayor, City Manager.
Jenna, do you want to drop that desk a little bit? There's a secret button over there. It's really fancy. Push it down. Up or out so we can see your face. There you go. Fancy
Vertically
stuff.
challenged
Yeah, you
over
got it.
here.
You got it.
Good morning, and thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to present on some of the successes and impact that Voyage has been able to make this summer through our summer employment program. As you all know, you came in at the perfect time to really save the day for Voyage when we had vital funding pulled from us the last minute. So this past June, Council came in with an additional $40,000 on top of the originally awarded $24,000 towards our summer employment program, making the city the largest funder for this program during summer of 2025. Because of your support, we were able to provide 70 students placed across 23 work sites among 8 different types of industries to get valuable work experience, learn about work ethic, and be able to make wonderful networking connections in our community. 2025 marked our 10th iteration of the program, and we were concerned that this program was not going to be able to continue until the council came in and awarded this additional funding. And so we're so grateful, and we want to share some of the impact that we've been able to make. Over 95% of our students that were enrolled in the program were able to complete over 100 working hours. So that means that they were getting paid an actual wage to get experience in their career field of interest across many different nonprofit agencies, government agencies, and businesses throughout our community. Some of the information about our students included here includes the age range. So we're supporting students that are 14 to 21. And again, just as a reminder, this program lasts 8 weeks over the summer, and they receive in-depth workforce development training through our partnership with Step Up Wilmington, as well as some financial literacy and other life skills and building workshops throughout the summer. All students are within 80% of the area median income. And I wanted to note that 22 of those 70 students who participated in our program are currently receiving additional support through other Voyage services, which is maximizing our impact. A little bit about the career interest by category among our students. We like to collect this data because it helps inform what types of job sites we need to secure for the following summer, which we've already started identifying some more job sites that are career focused that will result in our students living earning not just a livable wage, but a comfortable wage moving forward as they enter adulthood. Some of the main interest categories include healthcare, human services, followed by trades and business, and then athletics, law, and education. We have some specific quantitative data. We like to evaluate our students' performance at the beginning of the program through supervisor evaluations, and we perform those evaluations weekly throughout the program to be able to see how they've improved in terms of things like communication, attendance, dressing for success. And one of the major issues areas that we saw improvement in was our students' ability to take self-initiative. So when they got into their work site, they were not always had to be told what to do, but they could see the tasks that they were assigned in the beginning of the summer and be able to take that self-initiative to get the work done by the end of the summer. So we saw an average score of about 53% after the first week of evaluations, which improves to an average score of 85% in the last week of evaluations. We don't just want to rely on our supervisors' performance evaluations, but we also want to know how we're impacting the student from the student's perspective. And so we ask questions through a developmental assets profile survey at the beginning and the end of the program to get a sense of our students' confidence in their future. Are they making healthy choices and habits? Are they connecting to positive adult role models? And one of the biggest jumps that we saw was our students' score and their confidence level in their future. And so we saw a score of approximately 58% before the program started, and by the program's end, we saw a 90% average score in students' confidence in their future. Some of the major successes is that this is actually the first year that 100% of our students either improved to or maintained an average score of at least 4 out of 5 on supervisor evaluations by the end of the program. This was huge because we really intentionally implemented supervisor evaluations into the Friday workshop sessions so that we could go through different simulations or go through different workshops or professional development that would help them improve in the areas that the supervisors said they needed it most. We also had 100% of our students leave with a completed NC Works profile where they can do job searching, career clusters surveys to identify their unique interests and what type of career field would be a best fit for them. They all left with a completed resume and a SMART goal career plan so that they know the types of courses they might need to take in college. Maybe they need to dual enroll in Cape Fear Community College and really look at what educational plan is going to help connect them to their career field of interest. Some additional outcomes that I would like to point out are that 7 students are receiving CTE credit through New Hanover County Schools. So we have strengthened our partnership with the school system to make sure that we're looking at what students are already enrolled in CTE and can they get credit over the summer rather than spending valuable classroom time during the school year to complete those requirements. We found that 6 students were offered jobs following the program. A lot of our students are still in high school, so for those students that have graduated high school, 6 of them were actually offered job placement where they were working over the summer. And then we had 5 students who were previously justice involved, and they spent their summer learning work ethic and participating in our program, keeping them on the right track and avoiding re-entering the justice system. One of our parents reached out from a previous program participant, and I really think that this quote captures the point and the purpose of this program. We can throw around numbers and stats all we want, but it's the individual impact that really matters. And so I'd like to read this to you all. Hi, Voyage team. My kids truly appreciate the Voyage program over the years. This program kept them out of trouble, out of the streets, and out of jail, and for that I am truly grateful. Both are now in college, my daughter heading into her second-year major in business admin and interior design, and my son is heading into his freshman year major, computer science, with a minor in music appreciation. Both are attending Fayetteville State University. We appreciate all the staff and every program. I think that really speaks to the fact that her students, or her children, were not just involved in summer employment program, but they were also involved in our case management services throughout their time in elementary and middle school. It's the way that we combine our program impact that really makes our students be able to have the platform to be successful. When you support this program, you're supporting more than just Voyage. There are a plethora of other nonprofits in the areas, as well as city departments that are benefiting from the work that these students are doing on the job. Some examples include the Boys and Girls Club, LINK, Valley and Performing Arts Camps, MedNorth, the YWCA, City of Wilmington Parks and Rec Department, and Navigational Studios. We even were able to strengthen our relationship so much with LINK that we're bringing back one of our much needed programs that has unfortunately fallen to the wayside, which you all know is the Voyage Youth Leadership Council. We're now partnering with LINK, Growing Resilience, and Young Moguls to bring back leadership development, help our students learn the civic engagement process and how they can advocate for issues in their local community and bring about action and be agents for change. Without your help and assistance, none of this would have been possible, and we were even able to leverage the outcomes from this summer to receive and be awarded 2 very large grants, and we're very pleased to say that this funding has been leveraged to be able to receive $710,000 over the next couple months from the United Way and the endowment. And so I just want to say thank you again. It's a team effort, and we are looking forward to continuing the partnership. Thank you.
Thank you, Jenna. Thank you very much.
Mr. Mayor, members of council, we also have a presentation this morning on proposed changes and improvements to the rules of order, which would impact council's agenda and meeting process. Leading the conversation will be Deputy City Manager Mary Vigue, and legal department staff will be assisting as needed.
Good morning, Mayor Pro Tem, members of council. I'm fighting a infection, so if you have a difficulty hearing me, let me know. If you recall, a few months ago, probably the beginning of the year, we came to you with some changes to Legistar in terms of improving the agenda process, and that was specifically focused on the system, the cover memo, and how we relayed information to the public. We completed those projects. We updated you. You saw some improvements in your iPads. It's streamlined. And then we were looking at other potential improvements that we could make. And so that today is what this agenda is about. We're going to talk about those. We're going to talk about some improvements potentially to the consent agenda and some of the next steps. So just as a reminder, those system changes, how we streamline the process, and we mentioned that we would be back as we continued to make changes that would affect this. And so one of the improvements that we found was that currently the way meetings are run in terms of the agenda process is governed by our rules of order. And in regard to the consent agenda, it requires a vote on all items by a single vote. And council at any moment can pull any of those items, but they have to be all resolutions. Rule number 12 in the rules of order talks about ordinances, and they require 4 votes to pass, but they also require a first and second reading for all ordinances, regardless of what they are, whether they're the special budget, public hearing items. I use the example that you get one every year, I think, from the MPO, where we have to reimburse their T-shirts for $3,000, and that has to go on the regular agenda and requires multiple votes. And that's unless it's an emergency by the city attorney. So what does the state law say? The state law says that general ordinances can be, requires a majority vote of members, so it has to be passed by at least 5. if it's not passed by at least 5 members, it would require a second reading. If it's passed by 5, then it is automatically waived. Now, there are special items that council considers in state law that are not part of this. So, for example, your budget, that's not included here. Most of your planning items, franchises, those types of things would not be considered in this general statute. Yes, sir.
Can you break down what franchises are?
That's like, if somebody wants to establish a business, they used to do franchise fees.
Yeah, we don't see a lot of that.
No, you don't see much of that at all. This is just what's in the state law in
Understood.
terms of special ordinances. So what are we recommending? So in order to continue to streamline the process and limit the amount of staff that needs to come up and present and the amount of time, we would like to propose 3 recommended changes to the rules of order. The first is to allow ordinances on the consent agenda. Those would exclude public hearing items, those that require public comment, the traditional budget items, anything like that that is governed by state statutes. It also would include anything that's controversial, anything that's large items. I mean, we're talking about, there's an item we saw today for the Greenfield Lake that's like $8,000. That requires 2 votes right now. We would also ask that you amend Rule 12, which is what would allow us to pass ordinances on the first reading. It would have to have 5 votes, though. So if the consent agenda for some reason did not have 5 votes, those items would still need to come back for a second reading. And as a reminder,
Mary,
yes, sir.
You just, going back to your last statement about what you all, the staff, would put on the consent agenda and what wouldn't be, who makes that call?
It's the agenda, the manager makes the determination of what goes on the agenda and where. But as a reminder, we typically try to avoid anything that needs a council discussion that would be deemed controversial. Now, anything could become controversial.
That was my point.
Yes, sir. But as a reminder, at any given moment, council can pull an item off consent agenda. That is and have a special discussion on it or ask for it to be moved. So I do want to remind you of that. This is not taking something that you can't pull off of. So right now, you can pull any item off of consent as well.
Thank you.
Yeah, I hate to use that word controversial because that's different for everybody. But we just try to use those things that are small ticket items, would require minimum discussion. And then the third thing we request is actually just a correction. In Rule 13, it's a typographical error, which is literally a comma in the middle of a word. So we would bring that as well if we were bringing the rules of order. So if we did these, it would, we would ask that we would be allowed to bring these and put the ordinances on the consent agenda. The manager can place those non-controversial ordinances, but that could be pulled. And if an ordinance is passing with the first reading, would not require a second. So as I went over those. So our next steps, we would propose that we would bring a resolution to your next October meeting. So we're not even asking for any action tonight. We're just here for feedback to amend the rules of order. You have a copy of that in front of you, which would allow us to do these things. We believe it would increase the efficiency of the meetings, and it would align the rules of order with the guidelines in our state law. We are here to take any questions that you have.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, sir.
so I'm just, on first glance at this, I don't like it. I don't like it at all. And if you're talking about efficiency of the meeting, then I feel as if staff should, when they're preparing the agenda, they should put forth the best effort to make the meetings the most efficient as they could be prior to. I'm not gonna ask anybody if they remember when Tony was here, but I was asking that council, the entirety of council, get the agenda draft before it came out. Councilmember Andrews spoke about an agenda item that the media got before the council got. And so I was trying to was trying to eliminate that from happening at least a year ago or 2 years ago. I think that staff at that time may have done it 3 or 4 times and then it went away. But it does make us look uninformed when we find out things in the media, as opposed to learning them from staff. But again, I do feel like it's staff's responsibility to make the meetings the most efficient as they could be, and there has to be some balance from meeting to meeting. So some meetings are extremely top heavy, and then some meetings are a little more lighter. I would like to see an average of the amount of business that's taken care of in a meeting, and I don't want to feel as if certain powers or certain eyes are being taken away from us by a measure such as this. So if you want to take a vote or take down any notes, I'm opposed. Just leave it the way it is.
Yes, sir.
Respectfully, I think this is a long time coming. I appreciate the work that the staff's done to make it more efficient. I think a lot of the points that Councilmember Spears brought up is exactly what you guys are doing here. And I know a significant amount of staff time likely went into this. I certainly have no issues with it. I think that the agendas, just by nature of the important work that we do, are going to fluctuate on a bi-weekly basis. We really have no way of knowing what's coming down the pike and when, and that's just a testament to the important work that we do and how we push it through the system. So I'm certainly supportive of this. I don't have any notes. May have some additional questions as we move forward, but I think the more we can tweak the process, get more things onto the consent agenda that can be pulled off at any time for additional discussion, and some of the smaller items that will take those 5, 10, 20 minutes do add up, and give us more time to focus on the meat and not keep staff here too long or the public here too long. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
So I think you already kind of noted this, that it's up to interpretation what a controversial item is. I think we really, really need to balance efficiency of the agenda with public participation, because right now we don't have any. We limit our public comment period. We've recently expanded that, but still, the ordinance comes out, or excuse me, the agenda comes out on a Friday at noon, hopefully, and then people have until Monday at noon to sign up for any public comment whatsoever, and our only public comment period on the agenda, and unless it's a public hearing. And so I don't think we really know what's controversial. We don't really have any opportunity for any public input, and then only, it used to be 6, now it's 10 people are going to get a chance to speak, and they've been signing up for weeks at that point. So if somebody sees something on the agenda on a Friday afternoon, it's unlikely that they're going to get a spot to speak at the following Tuesday meeting. So, and we have council members who don't necessarily pay as much attention to emails as others, and so there's very little opportunity for the public to give input on items that are on the agenda. So that's a concern of mine, and just determining like what is, even determining what is controversial. I don't know that the staff has their thumb on that. And I agree, we could pull it, but then again, we're just discussing it among ourselves, and we've had very little opportunity for public input. I think we also need to, if we're going to go ahead and amend the rules again, I think we need to go ahead and benchmark what other cities and towns are doing as far as public comment. Like, we very strictly follow the state guidelines on public comment and what's a public hearing. But there are definitely other places in North Carolina that allow the public to speak about ordinances and get public input about ordinances. And we don't. I think we need to benchmark that. And then finally, if I may, the final comment, the final thing about this, the rules of procedure is, we have this rule about participating in person, unless they're excused, and no participating remotely in closed session, but we really haven't been following that. So I think we need to amend that section as well, as far as remote participation in meetings to reflect what we're actually doing.
Thank you. I'll look to the city attorney to take a look at that.
Thank you.
And just a point of clarification, the agenda in terms of materials, if it is moved to the consent agenda, would have the same materials that it has right now. And the controversial thing, I get it. Some of it is just really those $5,000, $10,000 ordinances that are just appropriating the T-shirt money or the grant money, or it's a companion item to a resolution. And if you see how our agenda is broken out, they can't be in the same sections. So if it can't go on consent, the whole item has to be off consent, things like that. And it's all, I know, subjective, so.
Cliff?
Okay, yeah, just two quick questions. You just mentioned items with a certain money value. Would it be easier, I'm just asking, to list, like, say, anything under $10,000? Would that?
I would pose that there could probably be some controversial items that are under 10,000.
Okay,
So
could
that's,
be.
we
All right.
thought of that as well, sir.
Okay,
And we can do that, but again, it's,
yeah, it's controversial, could be controversial.
I mean,
Okay.
right now, we determine what resolutions go on there in terms of consent. So it's the same, it would be the same process.
And then I noticed the last statement you said, align rules of order with voting guidelines in the state. So have we been doing it wrong?
No, it's just as you recall, the state does not require 2 votes on
Okay.
regular ordinances. So which is fine, we take the extra step, except in those special circumstances like budget, planning items, and those things. It's because of our rules of order that we have those requirements.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
It's very clear which ones are which. I mean, I get it. I mean, the ones that are, that you're talking about putting on the consent agenda, your comment about, I mean, it can always be pulled. If anything, something that may not be controversial to our staff, to this council, or to you, someone else may find a bit controversial. So, it wouldn't be rubber stamped. It would be a time to pull that and discuss it. So I don't have a problem with that. I've looked at some of these ordinances that you're describing for years and years and years, wondering, they just add time, and they would still get the same scrutiny as they do now. So I don't have a problem with what you're talking about.
Any other questions? Thank you.
I just want to say, anytime Luke and Charlie are on board with something like this, it's controversial to me. Makes me leery.
I fully expect that.
Whatever.
Okay,
It's the truth.
yes. What's next?
That concludes the regular items for today, but we do have a closed session that we would like council to go into. Mayor, I believe the wording is there in front of you.
Yeah, I'm going to ask for a motion to enter into a closed session pursuant to the provisions of North Carolina General Statute 143-318.11A and 5 in order for the city council to, 1, discuss the potential acquisition of real property. I have a motion made by Councilmember Waddell, second by Mayor Pro Tem Barnett. Any further discussion? All in favor of that motion, please indicate by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Item passes unanimously. The closed session will be held in the retiring room behind council chambers. At the end of the closed session, council will reopen its public hearing and adjourn at that time. So with that, we will go now into closed session.